if you're like, I want to be a pilot, I'm going to be like, I don't care where you come from, what you look like. Here's the resources to learn, to study. And if you put your time into that and you learn and study, then congratulations, you deserve to be one.
No,
that's
yeah,
that.
Okay, but this again doesn't even begin.
It's not stopping them from
to
being a
address
pilot.
my
It's
argument.
just teaching them to be one before they do it.
My turn, right? So one more time. This is my actual argument. Try to address the argument I make, not the one that you wish I made, and then address that argument. The argument that I'm making is that is not do what you want as long as you're hurting nobody else. That is, you can do what you want as long as we license you to do it and we rigorously vet you to do it. And after we have rigorously licensed you and vetted you, then you can do it. And if you don't do it that way, you go to jail. That is not do what you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That is sloganeering bullshit.
No,
bullshit
because I
lies.
decided to just take 20 people and get on a plane and...
STFU and try using logic. You can fly a plane without a license.
Right.
Right. So,
Without hurting
okay, so let
anybody.
me take this. I don't know if you have kids or not, but let's say you have 3 toddlers at home right now. And let's say a random man off the street who's never flown a plane in his life said to you, hey, I'm going to take your kids on my plane. I want to go for a joyride. Would you feel comfortable with that? Or would you rather go on a flight with someone who you know
Yeah, fuck no, I'm
learned?
not doing that.
Right, because you have standards. It's not that no one can be a pilot, but if you're going to
Am I
entrust
advocating you should be able to do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody, or are you advocating that?
I am. And
Okay,
I do
well
think,
then why are
I
you
think
giving
that
me an
person
internal
should be able
critique?
to be a pilot. I think
then
they just
why
need to
are
learn
you
how to be
giving
one.
me an internal critique about a position I don't even hold?
Because you're stating that by my logic, any
By
random
your
person
logic,
should be able to be a pilot.
yeah, by
and
your
that's not my
logic of you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else is not even a standard you yourself believe. I just
is.
demonstrated it. No, you
I
believe in.
think that-
you
that
believe in
person on this-
over-the-top rigorous licensing for fucking everything. What are you
No,
talking
I
about?
don't. I don't
think the
believe in
word that's
rigorous
missing here
licensing
is
for
the
owning a home.
opportunity
Like
to
you
do what
just
you
gave
want.
owning a home as an example. I don't think anyone
That's
needs
because-
to have
what
licensing
about-
to own a home.
okay, what about
like
owning-
to open someone's chest and
No,
do
you
surgery?
do.
You
Listen,
should be licensed.
by the way, you cut me off when I was making that argument. No, you do believe you need a license when you own a home. For instance, if you want to add on to your home, have a structure.
Yeah, I know about permitting. I
Yeah.
worked in
Do you
real
think?
estate.
Do you think we should have permitting for that?
I mean, Santa Barbara's permitting laws, I actually highly disagree with. It depends on that's a very
That's not my question.
county by city
Yeah,
basis.
that's not my question. Do you think that the government should be empowered to come in and tell you how you're going to be able to zone your own house if they consider any type of public danger, even if it's just a perception?
If they perceive that the structure you're building is going to cave in on itself and kill the people living in it, then sure. That's why you have to learn to be a
they're doing
construction
whatever
worker.
they want. They're doing whatever they want, and they're not hurting anybody else.
But they are by building something they don't know how to build. That is
So wait a
harming
second,
people.
wait a second.
So,
So
they're going to
they're
learn
living
to
in their
build
own
it or
house?
hire someone who knows how, and then still. That's what I'm
Whoa,
saying.
that's
If you want to
super
add on to
weird.
your house,
That's
you
super
can add
weird.
on to your house.
So you live
but
by
you just need to do it in a safe way.
So you live by yourself on a hill, right? And you build your own structure. The government comes in and says, nope, you got to have a permit for that because you might harm yourself. Great. But your argument is you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Who cares if they're going to harm themselves?
No, I'm saying if they want to add on to the house, they can still add on to the house. They just literally need to do it in a safe way.
So they just
I
need
want
to
Liza to talk
rigorously
now.
be vetted and licensed in order to do what
For
they
certain
want.
things in the world,
They
yeah,
should have
certain
the
things in the world
opportunity.
So you
can be
absolutely
unsafe.
don't believe that people should be able to do whatever they want as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
I
Like
believe
every
if you want to add on to
example-
your house, you can add on to your house. Just do it in a safe
Every single
way.
example that you give requires licensing, rules, regulations, and people interfering with your life before you can do the thing that you want.
Part of not
that
being a
doesn't hurt
caveman.
anybay else.
We live in a
The
society.
opportunity.
That's
How
why
do
you
we
can't
Right.
just walk
You know
down the
what?
street
I
and murder
agree. We
people.
live in a society. That's why I
standards.
wouldn't make such a ridiculous argument as you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody else, because that's sloganeering. That's not true.
The ideal. I think
That's
she's
taking
saying
it
it's
too
more of the
literal.
ideal, though, and not what
No, it's not taking it too literal.
You're interrupting.
But it's okay.
I'm sorry, I was responding to her.
I just think that it's.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Keep going.
No, I just think that the bigger issue is that should we have free will or not? I mean, that's, you know what I mean? It depends on what you believe in that way, because I don't personally want the government involved, but that's the system we have already. So how do we work with what we have? You know what I'm saying? I don't agree. Like, I don't necessarily agree with the exact way of, I think you should be able to build something on your own property in the middle of nowhere and be able to make your own decisions. But it's confusing because not that I know the right answer, but because I don't know how to bridge this space, because it's about what do you believe as moral and not, like
Right.
what's good and bad in your perspective. That's different for everybody. So how can you ever find a real solution. Which you're saying, which I hear, correct me if I'm wrong, what I hear you saying is go with the majority, but then what happens to the people that are not the majority?
I didn't give a position.
Okay, no, that's why I said correct me if
all
I'm
I was
wrong.
doing is
Yeah.
pointing out that often I hear sloganeering from people, like in this regard. People should be able to do whatever the hell they want as long as they're not hurting anybody else. But then when you test that, you find out they don't fucking believe that shit at all. They don't believe that they shouldn't be able to knock the gun out of their, kids' hands so that they don't unalive themselves. They don't believe that they shouldn't be able to smack the pills out of their daughter's hand so they can't. They don't believe for a second that they shouldn't be allowed to do that. The thing is when you take it from the conceptual to the practical, you realize, no, we really got to kind of interfere a lot in people's lives.
No, and that I totally
And we have to do
agree.
it all the time. And we have to do it for very good and specific reasons.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Atlas Shrugged?
Yeah, with Ayn Rand.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is that Ayn Rand was a giant cope fiend, right? She was coping the entire time that she was banging a guy who was 20-something years younger than her, because what she did was she took all the rich industrialists and she made them the heroes of the story, which is fucking insane, and then they came and saved society. So it's like the dumbest shit I ever heard in my life, but
Wow.
that's what I
That's
think of
sad.
it. Yeah.
I'm trying to get to, and you may have gotten
Remember how
it.
the rich industrialists came in and saved a society from, nothing ever. Instead, they have micro-engineered and fucked it up every possible way that they can by essentially creating lobbying groups that go and commission the government to go after whatever their private interests are by fucking over all the rest of us. That's what rich industrialists usually do.
Okay. I mean, I personally think Ayn Rand is, a hero in autonomy,
Oh.
individualism.
So-
Well,
you don't
Atlas
believe
shrugged
in
and
all
your
that.
brain fell out, right? As the old libertarian saying goes.
So for the majority
that
who
so
don't
annoying?
agree with Christians or, your view on how this country should be, where are they left?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So people who don't align themselves with Christian values or views with the freedom of religion in this country, where are they left being represented or
it's gonna
supported by this country?
It's going to be the same exact place where anybody would be left if they refuse to follow the rigorous morals and the tailorings that society produces for them. The
That's my
same place
fucking
that you would be
nightmare.
left in Japan if you weren't following their cultures, customs, and rituals. The same places that you would be left anywhere, right?
Is this not a
Yikes.
melting pot of a country with different values?
he doesn't
this
like
does
that.
not.
He doesn't,
This
I
does
know,
not in
but
any way.
He would do great with the
even
CCP.
Okay, so anyway,
Would he not?
this does not in any way deter from this idea. We are a melting pot, sure. Does this mean that you
That's a good
would import tons and tons and tons of people who thought that murder was okay?
No, because that's
Right. So
Not-
so if they don't coincide with your values, it's okay for you to exclude them. And so this is the thing, is like, we think the same exact thing. We think it's perfectly acceptable that if the majority has these beliefs inside of a democracy, which is what liberals claim they love, that if we take that democracy over and impose our world like liberals are doing to us, there's no problem with that.
But no, because there's no law saying murder is okay.
What would that have to
It's-
do with anything?
Because you said if, we can import a bunch of murderers into this country, they have the choice to murder and there's going to be consequences that you face.
No,
But
you're missing the idea here. Let's assume that you could import the value of murderers to the point where they became a serious voting bloc. They could then, theoretically, impose their will via democracy by voting in people who then made murder legal, right?
like Christians?
So are you going to answer my question, or?
I'm just saying
I'm sorry.
what
the
you're
the
saying.
abortionists think the Christians are the murderers. Okay.
No.
So anyway,
no one
back
ever
to
said that.
Well, that's what you just said.
No, I didn't.
You said like Christians when I was referencing
No,
murderers.
you said forcing people to have these views, and I said
no.
like
What I'm
Christians
trying-
in comparison.
Yeah, I don't know
when
why.
you said, we're going to import murderers here because
Yes, so
they'll have
let's-
a bigger influence. I'm just
Okay.
trying to finish and get this thought out. So we're going to import murderers here so they can
Mm-hmm.
have a vast influence on the voting majority. Like Christians,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Christians, you say, are the majority, and their
or liberals,
law should rule
or
all.
liberals, or women who are the majority, or whoever. It doesn't matter.
It's
What
not
I'm
a perfect
saying-
country for everybody, but
I
it
know,
shouldn't be based
but
off a single religion.
Why? Why not? Because you just don't like it,
But
right?
No, it goes against everything this country was built off of,
Oh,
right?
wait. I'm sorry. Who built the country? A bunch of white Christians?
With the freedom to practice religion.
Yeah.
The
And
reason-
the
no.
laws you're voting
First of
into-
all, the reason that there was an allowance of the practice of religion You couldn't be a Catholic. You couldn't even come to this country if you were a Catholic. You couldn't even come. The reason is because Protestantism is divided. They did not ever think that this was going to be a non-Christian nation.
But
none of our
Christians
founders ever
demand
thought
a lot
that.
of respect from people they don't respect themselves.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
If you don't believe in God, you're going to hell.
So?
That goes against spiritual people. Why
So
is
what?
your religion the most important out of the hundreds out there? Why
Right.
should you be heard and no
So
one
I'll
else?
explain.
More than the most important.
So,
Why
okay,
is
so I'm
the
gonna
way
explain
to
so that you
do
understand,
things? That's
right?
what I'm wondering.
Oh, I understand.
Well,
I
I
just
don't think you do
understand
because
why you think
Because I'm
Christianity-
granting your worldview. I'm saying let's assume Christianity is the worst. It's like the
I never
worst.
said it was the worst.
I know. Let us assuming. We're going to assume it. We know it's not true. We're just going to pretend for a second so that we can do this hypothetical that it is. So we pretend Christianity is the very worst religion ever.
Mm-hmm.
And you import into your atheist country a bunch of Christians who tell you, we want to definitely impose our Christian will on your atheist values. Okay?
Okay.
If you import them into your democracy in significant numbers, and then they begin to multiply, right? They could feasibly, inside of your democracy, begin to elect politicians who share their values, right? And if they share their values, they're going to implement the law based on the values they share with that now largest voting bloc, right?
Okay.
So if they do that, what actually would be the fundamental problem with that?
Christians